Hello everyone, my name is Janina. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to share with you the books that I have read in March, and I know it's a little bit late, but I thought better late than never. I didn't really want to film in the past few weeks, but today I felt like it. I read 12 books in March, which is insane for me. Normally I read around 3 to 4 books, and so far in April I have not read one book yet. In March I had a lot of time and I was really into reading and was just very motivated to read a lot of books. The first book that I read was Warrior Air by Cinda Williams, and it's about a boy called Jack, and he lives in Ohio in modern America, and he has something inside of him that he doesn't know yet about at the beginning of the book. He has magic inside of him, and throughout the book he realizes that he has certain abilities that nobody ever told him about, and that he had to take something to kind of repress these abilities because they're quite dangerous, not only for himself, but also for the people that are around him. So we deal with this boy who kind of realizes that he has magical abilities and he has to train them. He's forced into training and into dealing with how to use this ability that he has. He gets thrown into an underground society of magical people that live in modern America, and we follow him throughout the book, how he trains and how he deals with the fact that he is not like everybody else. I gave this book 3.75 out of 5 stars. I was a little bit thrown off by this setting because it's like it deals with this old magic and like sword fights and this kind of, I don't know, really old style magic society, and I think it didn't really fit into that modern America that we know about, so I felt kind of like a little bit, I don't know, it kind of threw me off. I'm not a huge fan of the characters so far. I think Jack is an interesting character, but I think he's more like, he goes with the flow, kind of. He gets thrown into something and feels like, okay, I have to deal with it, I have to do that, and doesn't really like give a fight to not do things, and doesn't really hold his ground, which was kind of sad. But I will continue with the series for sure, but I'm in no rush because it's a long series and it has even like a sequel or a prequel sequel. It's a long thing and I don't really have the motivation to do that right now. The next book I actually have a physical copy of. I read Body Positive Power by Megan Jane Grab. On Instagram she is called Body Posi Panda. I know her from Instagram actually and saw that she wrote a book, and I had to get it because it deals with body positivity and about her own struggles with eating disorders and how she dealt with anorexia when she was a teenager and kind of how she overcame that. In this book she talks a lot about self-love and that it doesn't matter in what kind of body you are in or what kind of mind space you are in, that you are worth it and that you should be proud of who you are. And it's just an all-around really positive message that this book gives. It deals with a lot of really heavy stuff, like I said, with eating disorders, with body shaming, with self-harm. It has a lot of really heavy topics in this, but really important topics as well. And to be honest, it hit me really hard to read this book because I dealt with a lot of things as well that are described in this book. So it hit home pretty dang hard, and that was good. Like, it was good because it's kind of eye-opening if you read this, and it's really, it gives you kind of like this hand to grab onto because you know that you're not alone in the struggles that you have had or maybe have had in your life. So I felt this was a really good book. It's very informative and as well, of course. She does her research really well, and it's very motivating, very eye-opening, and very comforting to read it because, like I said, you know that you're not alone in the things that you struggle with or that you deal with. So I can highly recommend this if you, or even if you don't struggle with the same things, and if you just need some kind of, that will make you open your eyes to your own self-worth and that you are important and it doesn't matter what kind of body you have or will have or had. You're always worth it, you're always important, you're always great, and that you should love yourself in every stage that you are in. So I really like this one. It is, I think, really important, and I gave it 4.25 stars out of 5. So yeah, I highly recommend it. I really liked it, but it's heavy stuff sometimes. It's really heavy stuff. It's positive, but also really heavy. But I really, really liked this. The next book that I read was The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black, which is a book about Hazel and her brother Ben, and they live in a small town that has a glass coffin, and in that glass coffin sleeps a boy that never wakes up. But one day, this boy actually wakes up and is out and about, and this is kind of where the story unfolds and how Hazel and Ben have to deal with the fact that suddenly there is a fairy boy around them, and how that changes the community that they are in. It's a book set in a fairy world where fairies are known, where fairies are kind of not really respected but more feared, which is really interesting. And normally I don't read books about fairies because I just don't care. It's not my genre that I go to normally in like any kind of book, if it's like YA or adult. But it's a standalone, and I wanted to read it for a while now, and it's my first Holly Black book, and I thought it was amazing. I really liked it. It was so nice and delightful to read. The writing style was lovely. It was really fast-paced. I could connect to the characters. I liked Hazel. I liked her brother. I liked the fairy boy. He's very snarky and very kind of evil as well. And I really, really liked that. I liked the relationships between the characters a lot, and just how the whole fairy thing unfolded, like what it came with, that they're kind of feared and that they're nasty and not like beautiful fairies that are like the most, like the nicest things ever. And I really, really enjoyed that. If you like fairy books, if you like a little bit of action, a lot of this kind of dark fairy tale feeling, which I really enjoy in general, then you will like this book for sure. Like I said, it's a standalone. It's really easy to read. I think I read it in 3 days, and I think this is like a really, really good book to just read in a few days and be like, this was a nice book. I enjoyed this, because I had a lot of fun reading this. And I think I gave it 4.25 stars out of 5. So this is actually a really high rating for me, so highly recommend it. I really enjoyed it. Then the next 3 books are actually three books out of a series. I read the first 3 books of the Rifter series by Jin Hale, which is the book series about a guy named John. He's not a teenager anymore. I don't even know how old he is. I think he's in his 20s, and he finds a key in his apartment that is not like, that's actually for his roommate, but he takes that key and actually finds a keyhole that key fits into, because it's a weird key. It's not like for a normal door or anything. It's a weird key, and he uses that key, and the world kind of, like his world kind of shatters. He gets thrown into a different kind of world together with 2 of his best friends, and they have to adapt in this new world that they're in, because the rules in this world are different, the people are different, like everything about it is super weird, and they think that they will never come back home, that they will never be able to come home. So we follow John and his friends, and also John's roommate, who is not who he seems to be at the beginning, and we follow these people and how they deal with time travel and different culture, and how they adapt into a different society that they're suddenly in. There's a little bit of guy-on-guy romance coming, as far as I know. So far there's not a lot of it. It's just really subtle, like really just minor sprinkle of it. It's there, which I highly enjoy so far. All in all, like all 3 books I really enjoyed. They're super weird. I have no idea what's going on most of the time, but I can't stop reading them. So it's like, it's kind of like an addiction when you start them. It's like, I have to keep on reading. I want to know what's going on, because you're so confused, I guess. It's a 10-part series, but all of the books are around like 100 something pages, so 120 pages, 110 pages, so they're really easy to read. The writing is really nice. You get really into it. The pacing is really nice, and just like how it's done is so weirdly intriguing and fascinating. and I can highly recommend it if you want something a little bit different with like some guy on guy romance in there and where you're a little bit confused a lot of times, but I hope that will be solved throughout the series. So yeah, I really like them. The first book is called The Shattered Gate. The second book is called The Servants of the Crossed Arrows, and the third book that I read is called The Black Blades. So yeah, there are 7 other books that I still have to read, so there's still a lot ahead of me, but I'm looking forward to it. So highly recommend. I really like it so far. Then I read Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo, which is the third and last book in the Grisha trilogy, and I was so happy that I was finally done with this. Oh my god. I struggled with the first book. I super hardcore struggled with the second book like so much, and I was super afraid to read the third book, but I was surprised, let me tell you. We still follow Alina, of course, and like the war that was like going on is coming to an end, and we follow that adventure of like going to war and dealing with loss and like preparing for war. So that's what we have in Ruin and Rising. To be honest, I was surprised how like okay it was for me. I thought I would hate it because I really hated the second one, but it was solid. I gave it a solid 3 stars. I think it was fine, but still, like this whole trilogy, man, I can't. No, it's not something that I will ever read again. Anyway, it's done, it's over, it's fine. So yeah, I gave it 3 stars. I'm glad it's over. Then I read Hexbreaker by Jordan L. Hawke, which is a guy-on-guy romance book about a witch and his familiar. So we follow Tom, who is a cop, and there's like some gruesome, weird magical murders happening, and he needs help from like the magical cops who are like witches and their familiars. He goes to that department and asks for some help, or like they need help from each other. So there he meets his familiar that he doesn't know yet of, like he doesn't know that that's his familiar, Cicero, but yeah, they meet, they hate each other at the beginning, but then it kind of like develops in this kind of, you know, romantic love affair, and it's nice. It was nice. I had fun reading it. It was a little bit like up and down throughout the book, but I had fun reading it. It was fine. It wasn't the like one of the more terrible guy on guy books that I have read so far. Anyway, I had fun reading this one. So if you want like a nice little guy on guy romance book that's not super trashy, I can recommend this one. I liked it, and I like the idea about the familiars that are like animals, because Cicero is a cat. So I like that idea of animal familiars. So yeah, I liked it. It was fun. Then the next book that I read was Gilded Walls by Roxani Chakshi, and I hated it. It's about a group of youth who have a heist. That's not really a heist. At least it didn't feel like it, and I don't understand how people compare it to Six of Crows, because there's nothing in it that's like compares to Six of Crows in my opinion. Just that you have like a few younger people doing something together, but nothing else. I didn't like this at all. We have, I think, 6 people who work together to do this heist, and there's a lot of world building. It's set in Paris, which I don't care about. That first and foremost, I don't care about like book setting in Paris or France at all. And I thought it was like, I went into it with the like expectation of, oh, this sounds interesting. It's about people who go to a heist, and that's cool, and like, you know, and there's magic in it, but it really wasn't what I expected. And I think the story was so convoluted. The world building was all over the place. I didn't like the magic, which was so weird and so out of place. I felt it didn't fit at all into the book. I didn't like the characters except for Hypnos. He was cool, but everything else, I couldn't deal with it. I didn't like the romance in it at all. Even the gay could not save this book for me, because normally it's kind of like a plus point for it, for the book, if there's like a LGBT plus representation. But even that could not save this book for me, because I was just, by the end I skipped a lot. I didn't like it at all. So next book. The next book that I read was King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo, which is the first book in the Nikolai duology, and I loved this. Oh my god, I gave it 4.75 stars. We follow Nikolai, who we know from the Grisha trilogy, and we follow him and how he rules his kingdom and what he has to deal with after the Grisha trilogy. And like, we follow Nikolai, we follow Zoya, and we follow Nina. So we have three perspectives, and I adored this. Love the writing. I love Nikolai with all my heart. Like, he's such a good character. He's so well crafted and interesting, and I love Nina to pieces. I loved her already in Six of Crows. Still adore her. Zoya was interesting as well, and actually I can't say much about the story because this will like spoil a lot of Six of Crows and the Grisha trilogy, so let's just say we follow these three characters in this universe and what they have to deal with after the war and after what happened in Six of Crows. So, loved it. Can't wait to read the second one. Then the next book that I read was Career of Evil by Robert Galbraith, or aka J.K. Rowling, which is the third book in the Strike series, or in the Cormoran Strike series. So again, we follow Cormoran Strike and his assistant Robin, how they solve a case of murders. So in this one, we have like a guy who murders women, like really explicitly. So in this book there's a lot of like explicit murders and a lot of violence towards the women, which was not easy to read, and some of it I actually skipped because I could not deal with it. Well, I had some problems with it. I didn't like all the Matthew Robin problems that were in it, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Yeah, it was alright, I guess. It's like a crime book, so, but there's still a lot that I did not like. The last book that I read was Frostburn by Patricia Briggs, which is book 7 in the Mercy Thompson series. And I always read them when I'm like in the mood for something fun and something light and something that I don't have to take so seriously, to be honest. And we follow Mercy and her adventures with like the supernatural, like with werewolves and vampires and fairies and all that jazz. And in this book we follow Mercy and her partner who gets kidnapped, and we follow Mercy and her kind of like ragtag team of people that she like turns to for help, and how they try to help her partner get out of this really bad situation. Yeah, we have our normal weirdness of vampire fights and werewolf being aggressive and Mercy like shifting to a coyote, and like this whole normal Mercy Thompson weirdness that we already know from all the other books, and it's a fun time, really it is. And I love the relationship between Mercy and her partner. It's a very honest, it's a very good relationship, and it's very healthy and very mature, which I really enjoy. Anyway, I had a lot of fun reading it. I gave it 3 stars, like 3 solid stars, because it's like a normal, like it's a general 3-star book always. And yeah, these are all the books that I have read in March, and I talked enough now. And like I said, I haven't read like one single book yet in April. Instead, I've been watching a lot of TV shows, especially Supernatural, so that's what I'm in the mood for right now, so whatever, it's fine. Let me know if you read any of the books that I have talked about in this video, and I hope you're all doing well, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!